Well, happy days to all of you. It's Danielle from Beauty Uncovered, and I'm really excited because we have today. Let's see if you can guess who it is. She is a WWE star, a model, actress, beauty influencer, entrepreneur, podcast host of The Comeback Kid, and a philanthropist. This is Barbie Blank. I'm so excited that you're here today.
Thank you so much, Danielle. What an introduction.
I know you must be very tired.
I sometimes need to take a break, but
I know.
but it's exciting. It's exciting.
I have to say, when I saw you come up and I saw WWE star, of course. Admittedly, I don't really follow much of WWE. I do pay attention sometimes when the ladies come up, not necessarily the men, because I sit there and I think, oh my God, what kind of strength of character you must have to not only do what you do, but to enter into that venue in general, it is very masculine fueled.
Totally.
So I'm kind of curious, like, what made you decide this is something I wanted to get into?
It was crazy because I used to watch WWE when I was like 12, 13 with my dad. That was like our favorite thing to do together. And my mom she would never let us watch it. So whenever dad was home, he would always sneak, the TV. If she would walk by, we'd change it real quick. She just thought it was too violent, which is understandable. And I stopped watching, I think probably like 16, 17, I don't know. I just didn't watch anymore. And I was doing bikini modeling in Florida, it's called Venus Swimwear. They have like a catalog. It's pretty big. And then I was doing
I've ordered from them. They're great.
Right. And so their big base is out of Jacksonville, where I'm from. And at the time they were getting out of like the wrestler kind of look for women. Like they were trying to bring in models that they could train to wrestle. And they saw my picture, and randomly my manager was good friends with the talent director of WWE. And they were like, okay, we love her look. Is she athletic? Do you think this would be something she would be interested in? And he was like, well, let me call her. So he calls me and he was like, hey, I have this like off the wall request. Are you into wrestling at all? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I used to watch it. He was like, well, they want to offer you a tryout. And I was like, amazing. And I was going to school too for broadcast journalism at the time. And I had talked to my parents and they were like, look, school will always be there. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Go try out, see what it's about. So I went and tried out, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, their training facility. I worked out and trained for a week. They like kicked your body is doing things it's not meant to do. You're like running the ropes like 500 times. You're jumping off the top rope onto the mat.
So were you athletic or ever done any kind of things before this?
Well, I was a gymnast. So
okay.
Really,
I was going to say,
oh my God. Yeah. Trust me, if I was not a gymnast or didn't have an athletic background, there's no way you could do this. I wouldn't stand 2 minutes in that ring. So I was a gymnast from 2 years. I started like tumbling and doing like when I was 2, and then I started competing at 6, and I did competitive gymnastics for probably like 5 years, 11 and 12. And then I got into competitive cheerleading. And so I've always been super active. So that really helped. I was able to do front flip, back flips, and that helped a lot within like the training and the moves. And I remember I would like at one point, that was like 3 days in, I was so like, I think maybe I got a concussion. I don't know, but I started throwing up like right outside of the ropes. Like it was,
what is that stuff called? Rabo? Like when you work out so hard that like your body starts to shut down. Ooh.
Totally. And it's such a male dominated business, obviously. And I was one of the first models that they had brought into this training facility. So so I think the guys were kind of getting a kick out of it. Like, oh my gosh, let's see how much she can handle kind of thing. But I stuck it out that week. I gave it, I think they were very impressed. And by the 7th day, they were like, hey, we want to offer you a contract. And at the time I was the youngest female they had ever hired. I was 19. They have not, I mean, I
Wow.
think next to that, I think maybe the youngest was 23. So they kind of saw me as like the poster child, like somebody that they kind of mold into like their all-American, like
And a
good
whole new
guy.
generation of young women watching.
Totally. And I think that was what they were aiming for, you know, and it was it was so amazing. So I got hired and I had to move to Louisville, Kentucky. And the training facility there, I mean, there's like 100 wrestlers. It's kind of like AAA baseball where it's like everybody's waiting to get called up to the big leagues, right? So these guys could be
Wow.
there for like years and still not have a shot. So it's kind of a gamble. You know, I packed up all my mom packed up a huge RV. We drove to Louisville. I never lived on my own. I had no furniture. I had a bed, but like we were eating. So they hired me and another girl who her name is Alicia Fox, and she ended up being there for a long time and got called up to WWE, and she had an amazing career also. But we lived together. We had no furniture. We were eating like cup of noodles every night. I mean, it's not glamorous. Like people are like, oh, you're flying on jets and it's like so glamorous. I'm like, no, we were eating cup of noodles, like having like ice baths and salt baths and like so sore for every day, 7 hours a day. Like it's not glamorous.
19
And
years old and your first time going out into the world. And yeah, that must have been so hard.
it was. And I got very lucky because I got called up to WWE. They had a part. They needed a like valet. So like one of the guys, like a girlfriend to like kind of help the wrestler out. And like he was like this big bad guy and they needed like a woman to come in and kind of like play the poor me because he was like the mean guy. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. You know, just to get my foot in the door. I knew I wasn't going to start wrestling right at the beginning. I had no experience. I've been training for 2 months. So it was a great way to like be on the road, kind of learn the ropes and train while I'm there. And I got to see the world. I was on the road. You're on the road 300 days a year.
Wow.
Different city, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You have to rent your own cars and you have to drive yourself like almost 250, 300 miles a night to each city. So usually like the girls will rent a car, we'll all travel. You have to get your own hotel because we're independent contractors. So like I said, it's not a glamorous, but you know, I got to travel the world. I got to perform in front of millions of fans. And I've been able to make an amazing career from it. So
You
it's kind of
definitely
like
opened up a lot of doors through that career. I mean,
totally.
let's dive into this because I mean, you've been on reality TV shows, you've been
Mhm.
in movies. I think you have one coming up this year, don't you?
It was like 2 years ago come out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, so you in a movie, you've done reality shows, definitely a beauty influencer. I just absolutely stunning your photos on Instagram and everything else. So, I mean, what does one do? I mean, I mean, I would assume, is there like a shelf life when it comes to WWE and then you go, okay, I got to branch out? Or was this something that you were planning throughout that?
You know, I had in my mind, I had like a time frame. Like I had seen women in their 40s doing it and they were in so much pain.
Mm.
And they were just like, oh my, and their whole life was WWE. Like they didn't have a life outside of it. And I just remember that being so important to me to have a life outside and to be able to have something. So when I am ready to retire, that I can move on. And so I just, for myself, I just wanted more. So at like 25, 26, I was just like, you know, my body, my neck, like my discs in my neck were giving me a lot of trouble. I was having, you know, just a lot of pain. And I was like, I need a break. I just need a little break. I'd never been hurt. Thank God, like so blessed because I've seen girls really do a number on them and they'll be out for like a year and a half, you know, where it's like, I never had to go through that. So I'm very lucky. I was able to go out on my own terms. I had a sit down conversation with Triple H, who was one of the head guys along with Vince McMahon. And I was just like, hey, like, how do you feel? I kind of want to, you know, take a break and like, just, see what else is out there kind of thing. And he was like, totally understand. Just know the door will always be open for you. And so I retired. I took a break for a good year. I didn't really do anything. I just wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. So I was still modeling. I was still able to do like wrestling signings and stuff, which those are big Comic Cons.
Oh yeah.
So I was able to do those and just kind of give me time to figure out what I wanted to do next. And this reality show approached me, and it was perfect timing because I was ready to do something. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, great, I can still have an aspect of like performing, and I can like do this and people can see this other side of me. And because they never, I played a character, but I played myself. Basically, I was like never a bad guy. I was always the good guy.
No, I was going to say you were definitely not, one of the more controversial people on there.
No.
Yeah. No, which is fantastic. So now how many seasons was that? That was
four
3
seasons.
or 4. Yeah.
4. Yeah.
God, that's a long jag right there.
It was, but it was, I loved it. And I know, like, I've heard so many people say, oh, reality, it's so terrible. And oh my gosh. But I had an amazing experience, and the network we were on is like top of the line. Everybody was just amazing. Our crew, cast. So I had a great experience with it.
So amongst the other women that were on that show, I mean, do you feel like you might've learned, like, of course, you went from one step, you went to the next step, and then you're trying to think, okay, what do I do next? Do you find that any of those women, with all the experiences that they had, because it was all very diverse, did you suddenly kind of start formulating what you were going to do just by looking at what they were doing? Or did they give advice?
It's from WWE, the women?
Well, whether it be WWE, but even just from the reality show that you were on.
I think a lot of the girls on the show on WAGs, they were kind of at the same, they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. A lot of them were influencers. It's when Instagram really hit. Yeah. And I think that really helped all of our careers take off. And I was very lucky because I had such a diverse, fan base. I had the guy fans from WWE and all these women fans from the show. And I was just able to kind of be able to put my hand in a lot of different things. It didn't pigeonhole me to one type of something. And really, I think that's what really helped my career and being able to do all these things.
So from there, you really started to curate everything that you were doing on social media, which is amazing. Yeah. And then also, I mean, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. You started a wine label during COVID.
Yes. What's so funny is that we had been talking about this wine. How I got approached about it was I was at the ESPYs, the sports awards, and I was at a golf tournament. There was like a charity golf tournament, and I was golfing in it. And afterwards, my manager was with me. They were serving this wine, and it was really good wine. And they're based out of Napa. It's called Smith and DeVroe. It's like a boutique winery, very cute. And they were like, hey, would Barbie be interested in like having like her own wine, like doing something like a rosé? And I was like, yes, I love wine. That would be so cool. And that was basically a year. It had been a year, really, that everything had finally come into fruition. It took about 6 months to actually design and figure out the label. Because I'm very hands-on and I'm very meticulous, and I want, just everything.
Hey, if your name's going to be attached to it, you want to make sure that
so you don't want to put out anything that's crappy, right? So no. My husband was helping me figure out the label. He is a great writer. He helped me figure out the words, how I wanted to write on this label, because they kind of gave me free range of wow. All right, you have complete control. This is yours. So yeah, and as soon as the wine was coming out in the end of March of last year, COVID hit hard. And I had all these, we had these signings we were going to do. We had luncheons we were going to do and really push this wine. And all that obviously didn't happen. So we were doing everything online, and like we were doing lives with the wine. I was cooking.
Were
I
you
was
doing like
wine
virtual wine tasting? How fun is that?
yeah. So we did all that. So it really, we made the best of it. It did really well. And yeah, it's called Be Tasteful. I came up with the name.
I
so it's
love that.
so thank you. So
I
now
mean,
we're
what do
making-
you do? I'm curious now. Like, I'm really fascinated by this. So what was the process of you choosing what kind of wine? Like,
well, they kind of had thrown the rosé out to me. It's pink. It's like it was like summer, and I'm like, yeah, let's do a rosé. Like that's a perfect. And they were like, we'll see how it goes, and then maybe we'll do like we'll do a collab on a red, or like we'll just see how this goes. And
really
they
nice.
they did all the tastings. I mean, they were sending me like a few samples, but I was like, yeah, rosé, it was good. So I was like, I really, for the taste, I knew it, and it's strong rosé. So
She's like, give me some
go wrong.
strong rosé, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll put
It's
my
like
name on it.
14.5 or something. I'm like, whoa. But it's
So,
good.
I mean, aside from all that, how long have you been doing the podcast Comeback Kid? Which, by the way, as I mentioned, I love the name of that.
Thank you.
How long have you been doing this?
We started this. So it was funny. I was at a Comic-Con with Jonathan Lipnicki, and he was on Jerry Maguire. He was the kid in Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Stuart Little. And he had this huge childhood career and fame. And I think how he says is around his teenage years, it's very hard for a child actor to get into and stay in that, because everybody still looks at you as that child actor.
Right.
So to get parts and roles as you're getting older is way harder. And that's why you hear about all these child actors, like, or whatever, like getting into a rough, place. And we were sitting there talking at Comic-Con, and we just like, we're talking about, because we're so young, and I had just ended WAGs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't know what I want to do. Like, and he's like, yeah, I've been going through a lot, the same kind of thing. He's like, oh my gosh, what if we like started a podcast, like Comeback Kids, and we bring on other athletes, actors who were kind of same kind of thing. Like, whether it be an athlete who had huge career and now it's all gone. And it's kind of like, what do we do next? And like more inspirational. We didn't want to do like a podcast where it's like, where you bring on people and you're just like, it's just, I've heard so many podcasts, and like, they were like, oh, we want it to be juicier. You need to like, I'm like, no, but that's not what we're about. Like, we want to bring on
but
people.
I mean, in all honesty, I personally think the concept of a comeback kid is, to me, as juicy as it gets, because I can't think of anybody. And if you've had a charmed life, good for you. No, that's great. But I really do think that we all go through those flows. And, I often say that I feel like the comeback kid with a lot of that went on in my life. So it's like, I love hearing stories like that.
Right?
This deserves to be explored. I'm excited.
Thank you. So that had been about a year and a half that we had talked about it. We were shopping around at different studios, trying to like get a good fit. And so Kevin Connolly, who is in Entourage and a bunch of movies, amazing actor, he started a studio here in West Hollywood, and it's a beautiful studio, just high end of high end, right? And so I had met him through mutual friends, and I reached out to him. I was like, hey, so we have this podcast. He's like, oh my God, I love it. So come in, we'll talk about it. He was like, we're on it, let's do it. And it's great because their studio has so many great, amazing names out of it. We had like Ethan Suplee, who was like an actor, and he was like a young actor and kind of, talking about weight loss. And he now is like this, health guru. And we have just so many names that we could bring in, and we were all utilizing each other's names and going on each other's podcasts. So it's a great place to be. We love it. And we've had great names on there. I've brought a lot of wrestlers on.
Nice.
And
so what was a story out of all the podcasts that you've done, not to, put you on the spot,
yeah.
but out of all the podcasts that you have done, what story stands out in your mind that you kind of reflect back on, like when you're having a hard time, whatever, that you sit there and you're like, everybody needs to listen to this?
You know,
I mean, I know they're all so
many,
great, I'm sure.
I know there's been so many. Oh my gosh. You know who's a really Amara Wilson? She was in Mrs. Doubtfire. She was the young girl in that. She was in Matilda. And
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I love her.
I'm getting goosebumps. She's so inspirational, and I used to watch her. Obviously, I watch all her movies, and Jonathan was good friends with her, and so she had come on, and just to know her story, because obviously I knew nothing like backstory or what she had gone through. She went through a really hard time after Matilda, and like trying to figure out what she wanted to do next. She lost her mom, and like she was like, I'm done with acting. She was like, because I kept getting cast, like they wanted me to be this, like, you know, they wanted me to change my hair, they wanted me to put makeup, and she's like, I'm not that type of girl, and I'm not going to go out for these roles, and I'm not going to let these people tell me who I need to be. Or she's like, I love writing. She started a podcast. She's like, I think she writes for the New York Times right now.
Wow.
She's just amazing, and I just love listening to her story because she's so truthful in everything that she says. And there's like, you know, and on Twitter, she's like, I will go on there and I will tell it like it is. And she's like, I get a lot of hate or I get a lot of backlash, but she's like, you know, I like to tell my side. And yeah, she's just amazing. So I think she's probably my favorite out of
Doesn't
everybody.
that sound exactly the way we thought Matilda would turn out?
Yeah, I know.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk to you about is also about, you know, the charity that you are working with, and tell us a little bit of how you got involved and what you're hoping to accomplish.
So, Cure Glioblastoma is the charity. We started this about 3 years ago, right after my dad had passed, of glioblastoma. It's a very rare brain cancer, and once it takes you, it's pretty immediate. And the doctors, you know, he was in the hospital for a good few months before they finally could figure out what it was. They were doing all these tests. They finally went in and did a brain biopsy, and obviously it was way too late, you know. And this was something so dear to me. And I mean, losing a father or a mother, like no one can ever prepare you for that, especially at a young age where it's just like, you know, it's like I said, and I tell people who have lost someone, they, you know, it's nice to like be able to, because people don't understand, and, you know, they try to reach out, they try to be, but it's like, you kind of just have to go through it, and you have to go through the emotions and, you know, handle it in your own way. And, you know, that's what I was able to do with my dad. And I just, you know, obviously think of all the amazing times we had together, and I know he's here with me. So, but this doctor had reached out to me because we were talking on my Instagram. This is why social media is so great in so many ways, because I started talking about glioblastoma. And this brain surgeon who reached out to me, who has been studying glioblastoma for like 20 years, he's like, hey, you know, I really want to start this charity and for glioblastoma, and would love to talk to you more about it. And I was like, yes, immediately, yes. I met with him in LA. We had a lunch, and I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. Kind of like, this is my calling for my dad. This is how I can, you know, represent, this is how I can, you know, just keep his spirit alive in a way, and make him proud. And so we started this right before COVID had hit. We had all these signings, appearances lined up to charity events to host it. And we had all these cool things planned. And so many people wanted to be involved in it. And obviously that happened. So we were figuring out other ways. We were doing lives, we're talking about it. And I've talked about it on a lot of podcasts, and any way I can. I was, you know, talking about it, pushing it out. We have t-shirts. And then we had a lot of people, we got, I don't know if you've seen the show on Netflix. It's about a hospital in New York. but there is a guy there who specializes in glioblastoma. So we got him involved.
Oh, wow.
And he's been huge part of helping our cause. And it's basically, we're a nonprofit. We're raising money to raise awareness, to help out patients and families with bills, and just, whatever we can. So we're, trying to raise money and give it to anybody and who is going through glioblastoma.
And where can we direct people to be able to donate or get involved?
cureglioblastoma.com.
Awesome.
And everything is right there. Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, it really sounds like you have so much going on. And of course,
I just got married.
I know. Congratulations. That was just a month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, a month ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
how
exciting. COVID was not ideal either. It was, but
did you find you had to delay it, or you were able to keep it on time?
We were so lucky. We had picked out this date a year ago, and we were just praying that it was going to work out. So there were like a lot of times where they were like, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And so my husband he was the light and through all this, because I was like, babe, I don't know. He's like, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to happen how it's meant to happen. And you can't stress. It's just, and I was like, all right. He's like, we're planning it. We're having it. At one point in January, my husband called the venue and they were like, look, we still don't know. And he's like, look, we're having this wedding. And so I don't know. You guys can call it a peaceful protest, but we're having this wedding. So they were like,
it's like, we're showing up.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's happening. So thank God everything eased up. We had we didn't have to change anything. Obviously we had to go towards the regulations and all that, but it was an outside wedding. And it was,
and you were still able to go on a honeymoon too.
Yeah. We went to Costa Rica. We had like a 10-day honeymoon and we did all the things.
Nice. How nice. So what's on the, what's in the future here? What do you got going on? What exciting things you want to start working on or tell us about?
I'm really excited. There's so many I have my hand, like I said, in so many projects.
Well, yeah.
But I'm excited about, the charity is starting back up again and we're really starting to push it, which is really exciting. I'm starting to do all of my signings again. Comic-Cons are back on, which is super cool.
Are they back on?
Yes.
Oh, my kids love the Comic-Con. So I'm kind of like.
I have like my first, I think the one in New York or Jersey.
Are they doing Orlando?
Ohio. Is it what?
Are they going to do the one in Orlando?
I don't know about that one yet. I just know like Ohio.
I live in Florida now. I used to be from New York, so I live in Florida now. Yeah, I'm by the Space Coast area. So I'm like, we're always looking over on what's going on in Orlando Convention Center.
I feel like it will be, especially in Florida. They're very, I'm from
They're
Florida,
a little bit more lenient on some things.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it'll definitely, probably in the next month, you'll hear it.
That would be really exciting. So if you're there, I'm going to be calling you and checking. Yeah. We'll have to meet up and have some of that rosé.
Totally. Yes.
So the last thing I want to talk to you a little bit about your Instagram and love for you to share with our listeners a little bit about, some of your go-to things that you do for beauty, right? So what are your these are things that I have to do for myself to really make me feel put together, not necessarily camera ready, but just, put together.
Well, okay. So my number one thing, washing your face. That is if I don't wash my face morning and night and I fall asleep in my makeup, it is the worst feeling to wake up that morning. And because I've
gotten better about that.
My skin like hates me. It was like, it's awful. So that is a big go-to. I started drinking like 128 ounces of water, this big gallon. I don't know if you've been seeing on social media, these gallons, like Kardashians are posting it.
Oh, really?
I'm going to show you because
show. Share with the class.
It's so pretty.
It's
but it's huge. Okay. It's like the size of my head and body, but it is, I have seen such a difference, and I've been doing it for a week now. You start
So what's the
drinking water,
differences that you're feeling?
my skin is clear. Like sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have like darker, dark circles. Those have lightened up. I don't have bags under my eyes like I did. Like my skin is softer. I just feel like a new person, honestly.
It's really funny because, you know, and as you know, because you're from Florida, like we have the humidity. So that actually is a huge benefit when you have dry skin. But even then you can dehydrate so easily. And admittedly, I'm not always great about drinking the water.
I know.
I drink water filtered through a Keurig.
It talks to you too. It's like, remember your goal, keep chugging, feeling awesome. Don't give up.
Funny.
So it really,
see, as long as I don't fill that with coffee, I'm good.
Totally.
So but I do feel like when those days that I'm drinking lots of water, I mean, even just putting on my makeup is such an easier process. It's smoother. It's like airbrushed. So everybody drink your water. This is important.
Yes.
So is there anything else you're doing?
Well, okay. For my hair, I'm just going to brag on Olaplex a little bit because, I've been using their products for probably, I don't know, 10 years. It's been a long time. And
about 7.
Okay, maybe 7, but I feel like I went from when I retired from WWE, I went brunette, and I remember I was trying to go back blonde. And Olaplex literally saved my hair. If anybody's trying to change their hair color to blonde, like that saved your hair. Because before that, I mean, it was fried. It was so bad. And I've had extensions for a very long time, and they're amazing. The shampoo, conditioner, amazing on, and I use the serum on my ends.
The number 7.
The oil. I live by that.
I gotta say, and for Florida with the humidity, everything, the number 6 is without a doubt like my go-to. Otherwise, I'm gonna pop out like a dandelion on my hair. But it's like the anti-frizz makes such a huge difference.
It really does. That's my savior. And my little ends, it keeps everything in place and looks shiny. And so
I actually am really curious, because now that you're not like getting back to like even just the health and wellness, you were talking about the water and taking care of the good health of your hair. Like, what are you doing now when it comes to exercise? Because you're not doing the WWE. I'm going to guess you're not competing in gymnastics anymore.
No.
So what do you do? Because I mean, obviously you've had a great foundation throughout your life of good exercise, but you know, a lot of people, you know, they go up and down throughout their lives as they get older, things change. So what are you doing now?
Well, I'm so blessed to have an amazing husband who is he's a big dude, but he works out. So he makes a goal of it. Every morning he wakes up at 3 a.m. and goes to the gym and works out from 4 to 6 and goes straight to work. He's a civil engineer, and he's working on they're building an underground subway here in LA. And he's running that whole construction project, but he makes it every morning. That is his regimen. And he goes to work, he comes home.
What time does he go to bed?
He goes to bed at 8. So we got a few hours to get, but our weekends are our time. So usually I'll have dinner, and it's like chicken, fish, or steak ready to go, and veggies. Obviously we'll cheat here and there, but he likes to eat well, and I do too. So that really helps. And obviously I like to have wine, so I try to even it out. And then I work out. I do a lot of cardio. I have an amazing gym here, and I try to get in there about 3 or 4 times a week to do like weights, little weight training. But cardio is a big thing. And we live really nice neighborhood, a lot of like hills and mountains. So we go on hikes a lot with our dogs. We have 3 dogs, and they love it.
Because you've only been in LA. You haven't been there that long, have you?
4 years. Yeah, not long. 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
How are you liking it there? Because it is a lot different. Every time I go there, it's like a different world.
It really is. It was a huge adjustment. Definitely coming from Florida and like I lived in Vegas for a little bit. And so those, everybody, it's not LA. LA is just a whole different breed.
Oh yeah.
But where I lived, when I first moved here, I lived closer to the beach. So not in the crazy, because I was like, I can't live in like Hollywood or West Hollywood. It's just too crazy. So I lived in a really cute neighborhood. And I have a great group of friends. I have a great group of friends here. And then that's so important for anywhere. And it made it easy. I got, and I met my now husband very soon after I moved. We met at the dog park in our neighborhood.
I love that. That's so great. Now you both have dogs. So you have
you
two.
I have a Frenchie. He has a Frenchie and an American bully.
Oh,
So
wow.
now,
So you have three now. Three now. Oh, wow.
3 dogs. Yeah.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah.
Well, I am really excited to watch everything that you have coming up. And I am it was so nice getting to know you. And I guarantee you, if I find out Comic-Con's coming into Orlando, I am going to email you.
Yes, you have to. I'll reach out to you myself. As soon as I hear about it, I'll let you know too.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes, thank you, Danielle. This was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.